By the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful. We begin our class for today. We are going to deal with Unit 9, Lesson 2, page 69. Hussam Ahmed, do you have a question?
هذا اختبار حفظ ولا آخر حفظ؟
After 15 minutes. Okay? You will receive the exam after 15 minutes. Page 69. So open your students' books on page 69 and let's take a look at these questions. Question number 1. Who can read the question? Raise your hand. Raise your hand if you can read. Ali Khalid, read please.
How do you spend your best time?
Pastimes.
Pastimes.
Thank you, Ali. Who can answer the question? Hussam?
By playing video games and computer games.
Thank you. Another answer? Salman?
By watch movie.
By watching
Movies.
movies. By watching movies. Thank you. So these are some of the ways, or maybe chatting online with friends. Look at the second question, number 2. Ziad, read the question, please.
How did our grandparents their time?
We are now here, we are talking about the past. Our grandparents in the past. How did they spend their pastimes? Who can answer the question? Our grandparents. Yes, Salman?
By gathering.
By gathering and telling tales, maybe. Yes, correct. Ali Khalid?
By reading.
By reading stories, maybe, or magazines. Yes, Ziad Muhammad?
By visit each other.
By visiting one another. Thank you. Hussam?
By playing traditional games and visit each other.
By playing traditional games and visiting one another or one another. Let's move on to exercise 4. Look at the page number 68. Page number 68. Okay. Here we have true false statements. So we are going to mark here, to write here T means true or F means false. Look at the instructions. Are the following statements true or false? Justify your answers. We will try to justify answers too. Look at item A. It was much more expensive to have a bike custom made. We will listen and then we can answer. B. The man's car engine is controlled by a computer processor. Let's listen to the first conversation and try to find answers to these two to decide whether the statements are true or false. Listen carefully. Listen first.
Unit 9, 9.1, page 68, exercise 2, conversation 1.
That's a beautiful bike. Where did you buy it?
I had it custom made for me by an engineer who lives near here.
I should think that was expensive.
Not particularly. In fact, not much more expensive than a good bike from a sports shop.
Really? And when you say you had it made, what do you mean?
Well, I went to the engineer's workshop and told him exactly what I wanted, which was a very light bike with a strong frame.
And you can't do that with a shop-bought bike, can you?
No, that's right. That's because they're mass-produced. You see, my bike is unique. No one else has got one like it.
Okay. Look at item A. Sorry, previous. It was much more expensive to have the bike custom made. True or false? Faisal Fahad.
False, teacher. False, teacher.
False. It wasn't much more expensive. So it is false. In fact, it's not more expensive than a good bike from a sports shop. Let's move on to item B. The man's car engine is controlled by a computer processor. Abdullah Muhammad.
True.
True, it is controlled by a computer processor. Let's move on to item C. The man's father was unusual. Unusual means not usual. The man's father was unusual because he could repair his car. Repair means fix. Let's listen and decide.
Conversation 2. Can you give me a lift to the airport tomorrow? No, sorry, I can't. I'm having the car repaired tomorrow. Where do you take it to? The little garage round the corner. They're very good and not too expensive. My father always used to repair his own car. He was a very good mechanic. Things have changed now. Car engines are much more complicated than they used to be. For instance, my car engine's controlled by a computer processor. If anything goes wrong, I have to have it fixed by an expert. In the old days, everyone used to do their own car repairs. It wasn't only my father.
Okay. The man's engine is controlled by a computer processor. We did it. The man's father was unusual because he could repair his car. True or false? Salman Khalid?
False.
False, because as they have said, in old days, everyone used to repair their own cars. Let's move on to the last statement. The magazine would have been cheaper if printed professionally. Let's listen to the third conversation and decide whether the statement is true.
Conversation 3. Read this new magazine, Dad. I think you'll like it.
It's very good. Who made it?
Me and my friends.
It looks really good.
Thanks. It's all our own ideas. We all investigate the stories, write the articles, and design the layout.
Where did you have it put together?
We did it all ourselves on our home computer. It took over 2 months to write and edit it. We could have had it printed professionally, but it's much cheaper to do it this way, and you get complete control of how it looks.
Thank you. The magazine would have been cheaper if printed professionally. True or false? Salman Mish'al?
False.
It is false. In fact, it would have been more expensive. Not the cheaper, the opposite. More expensive if it had been printed professionally. Let's move on.
Unit 9.
Or we can say it was much cheaper for the boys to print it themselves. Both answers are correct. Giving examples. In the second conversation, the first speaker does not have skills to fix their car, something which people in the past were able to do. Can you think of any other skills which were commonplace in the past but are unusual now? Any skills in the past? Ziad?
What's mean commonplace?
Commonplace, which were usual. Things people used to do by themselves in the past, but now they don't.
Fix
car.
Fixing their cars. This is one. It is mentioned in the text. We want another one.
تذكار
Yes.
سجلت غياب
No, not yet. At the end of the class. At the last 5 minutes. Yes. Other things. Salman Khalid.
Building the ship.
Yes, building ships. They used to build their ships by themselves. Hussam Ahmed.
Fixing the television signal.
Fixing all televisions or radios. Abdullah Muhammad. Also, many people. Yes.
job
Many
على
people.
صالح.
Yes. Wait a minute. Wait, and then you answer. Many people used to build their own houses. They used to build houses because houses were simple. Okay, number 2, you want to answer. Who can answer B? In the last conversation, a group of friends produced their magazines on a home computer. What other creative uses are there for home computer other than making magazine? What can you use the computer for? Aywa Abdullah, can you answer?
diving and building house. Waving.
You can use the computer for drawing the design of a house for building. Thank you, Ziad.
study.
We can use the computer. Is this creative?
No.
This is not creative. You
Make
can design machines. You can design machines using the computer. You can design buildings. Okay. You can also use the computer to do research. These are creative uses. Okay. Let's move on. How have traditional pastimes and leisure activities changed in the modern world? We want to talk about pastimes and leisure activities. How have traditional pastimes and leisure activities changed? We want to talk about in the past, people used to spend their pastimes. How did people use to spend their pastimes in the past? Hussam.
In the past, people used to spend their leisure time visiting each other and playing traditional games. And in activities like pottery competitions and horse and camel races.
Yes, horse racing and camel racing. Here are some suggested answers. Let's move on. Nowadays, people spend their pastimes. How do people spend their pastimes nowadays, Salman?
Read online.
By reading online, Ziad.
Watching TV.
Watching TV and playing online games and so on. Surfing the internet, chatting online with friends, playing video games, and maybe shopping. It's a trend nowadays. So in the past and nowadays, you can take a screenshot, and then we move on to our reading comprehension quiz. You will receive it in 1 minute time. Okay. So let's stop recording.